Hey guys, welcome to today's reading, and today we're going to be talking about what new beginnings are coming your way. So what new fresh changes in your life are about to happen. We're going to be getting into all of it, and today we have a beautiful selection of cookies for you guys to choose from. So if you've been to my channel before, you know the drill. You can just make up your mind on which cookie is right for you, scroll down to the timestamps in the comments in the description, and jump right into your pile. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. And basically I do pick a card readings, but often with food items instead of just cards. So basically you're going to see which of these cookies is standing out to you, sticking out to you, calling your attention, calling your name. And then as soon as you've chosen your cookie, you can scroll down to the timestamps in the comments in the description, and that will be the cookie that has the message for you. And so the first cookie is going to be that kind of snickerdoodle looking one on the left. Then we have the chocolate one is number 2, and then the red velvet one is number 3, and finally the s'mores cookie is number 4. I do want to mention to you guys that I do have a Patreon up with a ton of additional readings. So if you like how I read tarot, then that's where you can go to get more access to more of my readings, about 65 additional readings once you sign up. And I just posted one all about what you're destined to have in this lifetime, and before that an early dating, early relationship reading, so it's perfect for someone you just started seeing. So if you would like to join me over there, I would absolutely love to have you, and the link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description, and I would love to see you there. Also, if you would like to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can also get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. You can sign up for a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you. You get to really choose how your session goes. So if you would like to get a reading from me, then go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thank you guys so much for watching. Now, if you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to rewind, pause, and take as much time as you need, but we're going to go ahead and jump into pile 1. Hey pile 1, welcome to your reading. So I just felt like doing a live shuffle today, so that's what we're gonna do. And as I was tuning into the energy of your cards, I did see a lion in my head. So I don't know if some of you guys are Leos or you're connected to Leo energy, or you might have a lion as a spirit guide, or there's gonna be sun energy coming through. We'll see what happens, but I did see a lion heading into this. So we got the Queen of Pentacles. So some of you guys might be making more money or having more money at your disposal. You might also just be better at managing your money, figuring out your money. I feel like some of you guys are going to just become better at handling your ish. You know what I mean? Like you might be someone who has struggled to pay bills, or you've had to budget, and your mentality towards money might also be changing is what I'm hearing. So you might become a better manifester. You might be someone who has accidentally held some like limiting beliefs about money, where you have been doubting yourself a little bit, or thinking, I'm not going to make enough, or no one would pay me that amount. And maybe some of those limiting beliefs are going out the window, and you're going to turn into someone who is much better at manifesting and dealing with money. So you might start really getting some very positive beliefs around money and kind of increasing your I'm seeing like someone like increasing someone's credit limit. That might literally happen for some of you guys, but I'm also seeing almost like increasing credit limit in your mind. You know how the bank will tell you like, oh, you have X amount of money to spend on this credit card. You can only spend $2,000 or whatever the case may be. And each credit card has a different limit for each person based on their credit history and whatnot. For you guys, I'm seeing like Spirit is increasing your credit limit for you in your mind. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like for you in the past, maybe you have accidentally or subconsciously placed a limiting belief on yourself and said like, oh, I would love to earn, you know, 100,000 a year or something. And Spirit's like, why are you limiting it to that? Or maybe you thought, you know, I could never earn 100,000 a year even. I could only earn, I would love to earn 60,000 a year, or maybe 200,000 a year. But it's almost like Spirit's being like, hey, let me show you how much better it can get. You know, let me increase this. Let me show you how much more potential that you have and how you have been limiting yourself. So I think sometimes when people are trying to like manifest stuff, they accidentally set themselves limits. Like they put something as a goal and they think they're kind of putting that in a good way, but actually it can kind of slow down that process because Spirit's like, oh, that's all you want? Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. It's kind of like when if you're asking for a Christmas present from your boyfriend and maybe he was like fully prepared to spoil you and get you like the most amazing trip to Paris, and then you told him, oh, I don't really need to go to Paris. Like, I'm totally fine taking a trip to like Kentucky. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with Kentucky, by the way. I have driven through Kentucky and it's like stunningly beautiful. So, no offense to anyone in Kentucky. But what if you were like, oh, no, I'm fine. Like, there's a Motel 6 down the highway and I totally am down to stay there and we can like order in Grubhub and get like food delivery and just get some like chicken wings from the local place, and that's cool. I don't need to go to Paris. You know what I mean? I mean, he'll probably be like, okay, really? Like, you'll think that's the same as a trip to see the Eiffel Tower? Okay, well, that saves me a lot of money then. You know, I want to make you happy. I'll get you that trip to the Motel 6. Or I'll take you, you know, across the state lines and we can stay at the kind of rundown bed and breakfast, but like, sweet, we don't have to fly all the way to Paris then. And sometimes I think some of us do that with like manifestations. We try to put something as like a goal when actually Spirit might have a way bigger and better plan that's even more than we could imagine. So for some of you guys, I feel like you are kind of reframing your possibilities for yourself and you're realizing that you have more possibilities than you may have realized. Also, sometimes people can get down in the dumps, I think, very much focused on like the current thing they're doing isn't working out, and that might be part of the plan. That might be part of the plan to have it like not work out for you because it's not really the final destination you're supposed to go to, you know? So it's like, why even get so hung up on it? Maybe it's redirecting you to something better. You know, it's kind of like if, going back to that metaphor, your flight to Kentucky got canceled and you just decided, well, actually, you know what? I really want to go to Paris. So can you book that flight, babe? I know I told you Kentucky was fine, but now that I think about it, I would love to go eat like a real croissant in France. So is that okay? And you know what I mean? That might be exactly what's supposed to happen. So for some of you guys, I feel like you are changing your mindset around money. If you've been changing your manifestations or working on manifesting more, then these might start really paying off for you because I feel like there's a mental reframing happening in this pile, like a mindset shift that is a big part of this. So for some of you guys, it's a real switch in like how you're looking at your life. I feel like you're kind of seeing yourself more clearly is what I'm hearing. In the past, you might have set some really limiting beliefs or been like, oh, I'm not that special. Or even sometimes I think it can be that people limit themselves to like a certain field that maybe isn't even the right one for them, but they're convinced that's what they have to do to find success. So maybe they, you know, don't really want to be a lawyer, but they're like, oh, I have to be a lawyer because that's the only way for me to make money. And maybe they'd be actually more successful if they allowed themselves to maybe take their law degree and apply it towards being like an in-house, I don't know, consultant for something. And they're not really using their law fully, but they're still using it and it still applies. Like someone was telling me that like it's really common, a friend of mine who's a real estate agent, when I was thinking of going to law school, she was like, well, if you don't become a lawyer, you go to law school, you can still use your law degree to go into real estate. And I'm like, why would I do that? Like, what do you mean? I'm not going to 3 years of law school to get my real estate degree or to get a real estate license. Like I could get that in like 6 months, you know, because I have other friends who've gotten it. And she was like, well, actually a lot of the lawyers who become real estate agents are really successful and they use their degree. And it works out really well for them, and like people like the fact that they have their law degree so they can like navigate the contracts a lot better, so they can maybe like get a better deal for their client. And so she was like, yeah, no, it's a really good thing. And she was telling me all this stuff it could do for you, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I would never have known that. And sometimes I think that's what life is about, is like pivoting. Maybe this door doesn't open, so let me move to that door. Maybe this wasn't supposed to work out because this is way better and I'm supposed to be focused there. But I think sometimes people get so bogged down about like, I can't believe this isn't working out, this is my one and only thing, when we know the government does not, but the universe has infinite abundance for us. So if something isn't supposed to work out, then the universe is always going to open another door for us, and that can be what we're being directed to do. So I feel like for some of you guys, there's something you're twisting or pivoting to or just changing in your life that's going to bring you more money or a better financial situation, and also more confidence in this as well. Let's get some more cards though. That was just channeled from that Queen of Pentacles. What new beginnings are coming pile number one's way? Can you clarify this Queen of Pentacles? Oh my goodness. See, I love doing the live shuffles. You can see this. Sometimes people will be like, oh, the tarot readers pick the cards beforehand. So now you can see, no, we do not. It's just funny when it comes out like this though, right? Because it's like the same thing that I've been saying. Nine of Pentacles is luxury. And I feel like also one thing that's, happening in your mindset is you're becoming more comfortable with yourself. And it's almost like you're learning what you want more. I feel like the confidence is so big coming through for you. So it's like, I'm hearing you can't tell me nothing, so I feel like in the past, sometimes you guys really did doubt yourself or wonder, or it was almost like imposter syndrome or feeling not good enough. And it's almost like now you're having this vibe. And it's so funny, that song by Rihanna, which is like, girl better have my money. I'm not going to say the word because I always try not to curse, but that song by Rihanna about better have my money, that's what I'm hearing in my mind. And I feel like, that energy, it's so audacious, it's like so demanding, and it's so confident. Like she knows she's Rihanna, and she's coming through with that like kind of bombastic attitude. I want to say, like, she does not care what you think about it. She's going to demand her money. And I kind of feel like that's a little change happening for you, is like, I think you're less worried about how other people perceive you. And I also feel like you guys are less worried about like, oh, am I good at this job? Am I doing a good job? Am I like, do people like me? Do my coworkers respect me? Did the client enjoy it? And now you're just kind of like, yeah, I know I'm good at it. Yeah, I know. And I need a salary raise, So in the past, if that has been holding you back, that is such an energetic chink in the armor. Whenever we're thinking like, oh, I don't know if I'm good at this, I don't know if I can't do this, that goes so deep down into our subconscious, and people can kind of feel it, and that's why it's so important to really work on our confidence and make sure that like I always think when you have a bad energy, a great thing to compare it to is like if you've ever been asked out by a dude who's clearly kind of having an anxiety attack, like, and you could just tell he like told himself, like he gassed himself up in the mirror beforehand, like, go up, ask her out, just do it, just say yes. And he comes up to you, and even if you thought he was cute before, he'll be like, hi, I think did you want pizza? And you're like, oh my god, this person's actually having an energetic meltdown. And it's a huge turnoff. Even if before you were interested, it just feels so weird, and the energy is just so off that you're like, nope, I don't eat pizza, I'm lactose intolerant, I'm gluten-free, I don't eat it at all, I don't eat any food, sorry, no. Because it just like energetically makes you nervous and rubs off on you, and then you're like, this is weird, and you can't help that. It's just energetically repulsive. And I think so many of us, we kind of do the same thing with things we're trying to manifest, right? Like we'll be like trying to say, I'm gonna make $1 million, but we say it like, I'm gonna make $1 million, and we're so nervous, or we don't believe it, or we don't think we're good enough. And of course that rubs off into the energy, and it's kind of like the universe is, oh, Okay, someone was honking, so maybe they want to emphasize this message, but it's kind of like the universe is that girl that's being asked to, and we're the dude coming up who's having the panic anxiety attack, and our eyes are wide and bloodshot and being like, I want to date you, and the universe is like, no, 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 I don't want anything to do with this. You know what I mean? So if, and then I'm sure you guys can think of times when you've dealt with someone and maybe they're not really your type or they're not that cute, but they come up to you, they're real confident, they're real cool, they're real calm, they're relaxed. And it's like, even if you wouldn't normally go for that person, you're like, well, yeah, he's cool, at least it'll be a fun time. So sure, I'll go on the date. You know what I mean? And in that way, we want to be that like cool, calm, relaxed, knowing we deserve it, knowing that we have the self-worth to make this happen. So I feel like some of you guys, this could be a lesson in maybe wanting to make a shift for you towards knowing how much you deserve things and really working on sensing out in your energy. Are there any feelings of doubt or lack of self-worth, or feelings like you can't really do it, or questioning like, am I good enough, or wondering if you're, if this is right, or how are people liking it, or what did the client think afterwards, or I can't ask for that, no, I need to ask for it, well, no, it's going to be awkward, and kind of like fixing our energy first. And then I think when we have that energy, that like knowing what we have to offer is special, knowing that what we have to offer is rare and unique to us, then I feel like people will respond to that. So I think you guys are making this change in your energy, and it's almost like you're learning to demand more. I feel like some of you guys, I'm hearing you're fed up. You might be fed up with feeling like you are broke, or you don't have enough, or feeling like you're not getting, I don't know, the recognition you deserve, or feeling stuck in some ways. I don't know, but I feel like that's really shifting and changing. And a lot of you guys are stepping into like, of course I deserve it. Why wouldn't I? And I think that's going to pan out with your finances as well. People are going to sense the energy that like, oh, this person seems a lot more confident, and they seem a lot more calm, and they seem like they know what they're doing. And yeah, I'll give them the raise, So let's see what other cards we can get for pile one. What is changing for pile one? What changes are coming their way? Ooh, the Lovers. And we also got the Two of Pentacles. Wow. That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. Two of these cards, like to me, it's a very similar vibe, considering what we've been talking about with the Two of Pentacles. That can be a match of finding like a like-minded person to partner up with financially. And it could be that I think sometimes in life, like energy is just about finding the right resonance for you. It's like you can be that talented person. You could be the best artist in the world. Like Picasso would have never been known if he was trying to make it as an accountant, And I guarantee you, most of the accountants that he showed his art to in like his art in the accountant company he worked for, if he had ever had that life, would have been like, bro, what is that? You're the worst painter ever. This is horrible. This is literally the worst painting I've ever seen. It doesn't even look like a human. You know what I mean? And by the same token, someone who's gifted at accounting and really excels with numbers and kind of that Virgo, like check, double check energy, probably wouldn't do so well if they decided to try to, and not saying Virgos can't be good at art, of course they can. I just mean like the like precise aspect of like accounting where you have to like check, double check. Wouldn't be great if they were in like an art program that was just like, oh, dash off whatever painting and just like show your free expression and whatever. They'd probably be like, ugh, this is just annoying energy. Like I feel this desire to be precise, and I want things to be done correct, and I want to make this look realistic. And you're telling me that dude who's painting like an abstract weird woman with like a triangle head, that's the best painter in the class? You know what I mean? And that's why I think it's all about finding that resonance. It's all about finding that job or that situation or that person that's right for you. And I feel like some of you guys are going to be meeting someone or just changing and shifting what you do so that you're much more in alignment with someone who's going to get you. So sometimes I think it's just that like you're in the wrong venue, Picasso trying to be in the accounting school isn't going to work so well, and the accountant trying to be doing the arty vibe isn't probably going to, love that either. Sorry, there's like a siren. There's a lot of noises during your reading for some reason, but maybe Spirit wants to emphasize these messages for you. And be like, get out of that, get out of that situation that's not in alignment. But sometimes I think in situations where we're up against a brick wall or we feel like there's a lot of resistance, it's just because we haven't found the alignment. We haven't found that job or that person or that place that just fits like a puzzle piece into place, and just kind of seems to flow so easily. I'm sure anyone who has had that experience, whether you meet a romantic partner or whether you're like in a job or something and no one really gets you, or at a school. And I think a lot of people mention that, like someone who might feel like an outcast in their really small town moves to Manhattan and suddenly they're like, oh my God, I found my people. Or maybe someone who's in Manhattan and they just feel really disconnected and they want to be out in the country, move to like a small town in Tennessee and they're like, wow, I love this, I'm right at home. But either way, it's about finding the energetic alignment that's right with you. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's about, I'm around people who can appreciate me, I'm around people who can understand me, and I'm around people who get me. And I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're going to be taking your energy out and aligning it with somewhere that's a lot better for you, or some situation, some workplace. Could be a person as well with this Lovers, but it's almost like in the past you guys were willing to kind of contort yourself into a pretzel to try to fit in and to try to get people to like you or understand you or appreciate you. And I feel like you're just going to be amazed at what happens when you kind of don't settle for energies that don't work for you. Like for me, I've also found that energy with people. Like it's amazing when you meet like a certain best friend and like from the jump, the conversations are amazing. There's no awkward phase. There's no weird phase of like getting to know the person and being like, oh, how many siblings do you have? Oh, cool. Anyway, I have this many siblings, and like weird getting to know you, awkward energy. It's so funny because with certain people, a lot of us have had this experience where it's like immediately you just feel like you know them and you feel like they know you and you feel like you can open up to them. And that's like energetic flow, So I really feel like what's shifting and changing and switching in your life is energetic alignment that is not really limiting yourself as much, not really insisting that it has to look a certain way or it has to be with certain people, but more like, let me find the right vibe for me. Let me find the right energy for me. And for a lot of you guys, it's leaving behind existing situations and moving towards someone or some situation, some group, some place where they're going to just get you and it's going to click. And with the Lovers, again, and the Two of Pentacles, I really think that's about two people coming together and it's financially very beneficial. So yeah, I think for you guys, there's this huge move towards more financial abundance, more financial success, and also just an easiness here. The Nine of Pentacles is a really easy energy. It's not having to push itself. It's not having to work super hard. It's generally something that comes around and just flows and just is easy. That's the best way I can use to describe it. And I think, again, that's what I think of whenever I think of situations where I've been like pushing myself so hard, trying to change myself, hoping this person would get me, like trying to make my best impression, versus situations where they're just like, oh yeah, join the art program. Oh, that's awesome. She likes to draw. Wow, that's so cool. That's great, because we actually have a dedicated program for that. You know what I mean? And the same thing goes for anyone who's achieved anything, is like you have to have that energetic alignment. Like if, Michael Jordan or someone, had just been, there was no basketball program, he probably would have just been like the awkward tall kid in class who like wouldn't stop, playing with, running around. I was going to say like I'll say throwing the ball around. I was going to say playing, but that sounds a little weird. But anyway, throwing balls around all the time, and people being like, "Oh my God, calm down. He's just so big and huge and ugh." You know what I mean? But because there's a basketball program, people were like, "Oh, this is perfect. We know exactly what to do with you. Okay, you can, join the team." And it was a good thing. But that's my point, is like sometimes it's not that there's anything wrong with us, it's that it's not the alignment. The person doesn't have the tools to appreciate it. The person doesn't get what we're doing, doesn't get what's going on. For me, I have talked to friends who grew up in like really small towns, and I always find that sometimes not every small town is bad, by the way. I think small towns can be amazing, but sometimes, you can tell someone like has a chip on their shoulder, or even about religion, because every religion they grew up around was like super judgmental because they grew up in like a small town. So they think Christianity itself is like evil, and I don't want to ever be in a church ever again. And it's like so dramatic, but that's because it's like a lot of times trauma, because maybe they felt so restricted by that and they can't imagine any other version of that. You know what I mean? And I think so much of it is just, again, people that don't understand us as we are, and this deep desire we have as humans to be like understood for whatever we're doing. So for you guys, this could be a pivot to someone, someplace, something that's just going to really appreciate you. And I feel like you're going to also have the bravery to be more honest about who you are. And then that's going to attract even more of those types. So yeah, I think for a lot of you guys, what is coming your way is more money, and also possibly partnerships, or linking up with exactly, this might be like finding your passion, finding your purpose, finding that job that you've been searching for, or finding that office workplace where you don't feel stressed, where you feel like that your boss is like, I love that you are so good with clients. Instead of getting mad at you for spending extra time on the phone with clients, being like, oh my God, you talk to the client so well. This is perfect. I've been looking for someone like you, because it's almost like any advantage can be looked at as a negative, and any negative can be looked at as a positive, I guess. Wait, I don't know if that's true, but yeah, any advantage or positive thing can sometimes be looked at as a negative, and I think that and any negative can be looked at as an advantage. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. So it's sometimes just a matter of perspective, just a matter of finding the person, the place, the thing, the field, the career path that gets you and allows you to be in your highest energy, and not being afraid to pivot, and not being afraid to leave situations behind when they don't quite fit, and no longer trying to just beat your head against the wall, but being brave enough. Because you can see with the Two of Pentacles, this ship is in the background coming in. So he's ready to embark on this new endeavor if he can't find the right other pentacle to join up with. So yeah, I think that's what I have for you guys, pile one. We just did the tarot for you guys, but I really felt like that message was coming through so strong. So I hope it resonated, guys. Let me know if it did in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, and check out all my other readings on here if you want to get more clarity from me. And if you want to see even more of my stuff, head to my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about what you're destined to have in this life. And before that, a reading all about your early dating love situation. So for someone you just started dating, it's a great one to watch if you want to know how they're feeling about you. But as soon as you sign up for Patreon, you'll get access to over 65 additional readings. And there's readings about love, spirituality, money, career, every topic under the sun. So if you want to join us over there, we also suggest and vote on new topics. And so I would love to have you join. The link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And if you want to get a private reading with me, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can sign up for a half-hour or a full hour-long reading with me, have me pull tarot, read your astrology, or channel for you, and you get to ask me within reason whatever you want. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I am sending you so much love and light, and I'll be back again very soon with another reading. So I am sending you lots of love, and I'll see you then. Bye. Hey pile 2, welcome to your reading. I am doing a live shuffle today. I just felt like doing live shuffles. So let's get into your cards and see what new beginnings are coming your way. What new beginnings are coming pile 2's way? Ooh, the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a really, really positive sign. So maybe some of you guys have been feeling a little down in the dumps lately, or been feeling like things really haven't been working out with you. And whenever we get the Wheel of Fortune, that means that it's about to turn around. So things are about to shift. So if you've been going through a really hard time, hard astrological transits, maybe this past moon that we just had conjunct Saturn was a really heavy energy for a lot of people. But either way, in your life, things are about to get a lot better. And so the Wheel of Fortune sometimes can be like finally something budging, like something we've been trying to manifest where it's felt blocked and it finally breaking through, or situations that have been stagnant or just kind of plodding along finally speeding up. It's kind of like this transition and this major shift in the energy, and suddenly things working out for you instead of against you. Let's get some more cards though. Clarify this Wheel of Fortune, Spirit. What new beginnings are heading pile two's way? What new beginnings are heading pile two's way? The Hanged Man. Yeah, you guys are going to be seeing things from a really different perspective. And look, we have two major arcana, three, leading off the reading. So we got the Wheel of Fortune, the Hanged Man, and now the Tower. But that shows how powerful this shift that is happening for you guys is going to be. Maybe some of you guys are already going through this Tower moment. Maybe some of you guys have already been feeling like things just aren't working out. Whenever we're going through this time, that's why the Hanged Man can be kind of a heavy energy, is because it's like that shift where suddenly we see things differently, and it's kind of hard to adjust our eyes. If you could imagine, if you literally had to look at the world upside down, it would look really weird for a while until you finally allowed your eyes to adjust and started recognizing, like, oh, that building that looks like it's hanging out of the sky, oh, that's the same building I pass every day. And that car, oh yeah, I know that car, that's my neighbor's car. Okay. And once your eyes adjust, you're able to see it differently. And for some of you guys, maybe you have just shifted into a new timeline. You might be shifting into something new, and your life might be looking very different lately than it has for a while. If it hasn't happened yet, then this will be happening in the future. But when we allow ourselves to go with the flow and to adjust to this timeline, then that's when the magic can happen. When we resist is when we have a Tower moment. When we kind of lean into it and just trust the process. Another thing is the Hanged Man is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is Pisces, the fish that literally goes with the flow. It opposes Virgo on the astrological wheel. So where Virgo needs to know all the details and have all the I's dotted, T's crossed, Pisces is totally down to trust. In ancient astrology, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and it's funny, we have Jupiter energies for both of these cards. So we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is related to Sag and Jupiter, and then we have Neptune, which is related to Pisces, and that is also a Jupiter energy. So when it comes to Jupiter, it's a highly optimistic sign, but it's represented differently when it's in fire versus water. And I think sometimes people sense the optimism in Sag, but they don't really realize that Pisces is just as optimistic. And the difference is Pisces is optimistic in a way where they don't really care if the outcome works out the way it has to. Fire signs are full of a certain energy. They're going after a certain path. They really want things to look a certain way. It's like that energy. It's like that I'm going after this goal with so much force and it has to happen and I'm going to make it happen kind of vibe. Fire is forceful, it's strong, it's going after a goal. Water is kind of like meandering, it goes wherever you lead it. If you put up a dam in a river, it'll go around it, or it'll go, you can divert it into another path. Water is very adjustable. And sometimes I think people think Pisces are defeatist or lazy, when the reality is, I think Pisces just always has an innate trust that the universe will take care of it, that the universe will make everything magically work out. And yes, there's downsides to that as well. But being the final sign in the zodiac, having incarnated throughout the astrological wheel, I think Pisces has a lot of hidden knowledge that some of the other signs might not have. And they kind of understand that at the end of the day, yeah, it's like almost guaranteed. Things aren't going to work out the way you plan. And the whole point is to keep yourself optimistic, keep yourself going on it, and allow the universe to take you to this magical destination. It's kind of like when you get onto like a ship or something or a boat. You might not know exactly how the wind is going to blow. You might have a rough idea of the route, but if there's a storm or if there's bad weather or if you go a little off course, usually you might have extra supplies in case that happens, and you're willing to kind of allow the current to take you where it needs to go. And so sometimes in life, these diversions, these tower moments that may seem really negative are actually things that are supposed to pivot us to our actual destiny. And those things that look like they're taking off us are why did I say that so weird? I don't know. Taking us off our path are actually diverting us back on our path. And sometimes you don't even have to have a path at all. You can just let the universe take you where it wants to lead you. So I feel like a change that's happening for you guys is, I'm going to be honest, maybe something that you were like, okay, it has to look like this. It has to work out this way. Like maybe you've been gunning for a certain promotion at your job. And I'm not going to lie, maybe you don't get this promotion. Maybe, your boss is like, sorry, I had to give it to like Caitlin this time, and you can apply again next year, and you're super disappointed. And maybe that disappointment is supposed to happen to pivot you into looking up on LinkedIn and being like, well, let me just throw my resume out there. And then you get contacted by another company and you get hired for your dream job that you never thought was an option, or you decide to start a side hustle because you're sick and tired of having to rely on your income from this job, and then that takes off completely, and next thing you know, you're making bank from your Etsy shop that you never thought would happen. That's kind of like what these cards combined mean to me, is trusting in that process. And like I said, we have Sagittarius here. Like Sag and Pisces are both such optimistic signs that tend to trust. Sag, it's more obvious. Sag is like, hey, I want to travel and let's explore. And they're kind of very positive. They're very funny. And sometimes people think Pisces are like depressed because we're a water sign, but I think most Pisces are actually so optimistic. And that's what's underpinning it, is like, I think when, like I said, Pisces is opposing Virgo on the astrological wheel. And the Virgo energy is kind of like, okay, it has to look like this. I made an itinerary. I organized everything. I planned it out. I have extra snacks, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful energy on its own. But Pisces opposes it. Pisces is like, I didn't pack anything. Yeah, I don't have tickets. I didn't make any plans. No, I don't know where I'm going. No, I don't know where I'm staying tonight. But you know what? It's going to work out. That's kind of like Sag and Pisces both had that vibe to them. And I think that it's funny because that energy is associated with Jupiter, right? And Jupiter is also the planet of luck. So it's almost like the more we can trust in the universe, the more we give that confidence over to spirit and to be like, hey, I know you got this handled, so I'm not even gonna stress. The more Jupiter's like, oh, awesome. Okay, well, you know what? Here's another blessing, because Jupiter is the ultimate benefic, and it's random luck. It's random discoveries. Everyone I know who is like major Sag placements tends to be so lucky in those certain areas. Like I mentioned before, but I know someone who has a Sag moon. Moon rules the home, the house, and this person has like always gotten the most insane multiple rent controlled apartments in multiple cities. I mean, massive, crazy prices, like so beyond market rate, like paying literally a quarter of the market rate. You know what I mean? Insane stories. And this person, just wherever they go, seems to stumble into rent controlled apartments, or, crazy real estate stuff. And that's kind of the energy of Sag. And when I brought this up to this person, I'm like, do you realize how freaking weird it is that you've had so many rent controlled apartments? They're like, huh? Why? No, it's just like this, I know this person and I know that person. I'm like, no, but that's actually weird. Take it from me, a bitter Cancer moon who's never had any rent controlled anything. I'm like, no, because I literally lived like 2 blocks away from this person and was paying 4 times their rent. So I'm bitter about it. And the thing is that, you know, it's almost like Jupiter placements and sometimes Pisces placements can be very like clueless about it. Like they're kind of like, oh, yeah, I guess it is kind of nice, isn't it? No, oh well. They just kind of expect that to happen. They have this ultimate trust in the universe that everything is going to work out. And it's funny because when we can plug into that and we can like let go of all these worries and let go of all this, um, and yeah, it just occurred to me because it's so funny. Pisces opposes Virgo on the astrological wheel, and duh, Gemini opposes Sag. So double, both of them being ruled by Jupiter and both of them opposing Mercury ruled signs. Mercury's all about the details. Mercury's all about everything has to have an explanation and let's talk about it and let's, you know, figure it out. And why don't we get some like data and why don't do we have a study that can back this up? And I made a spreadsheet, you know, and Mercury loves that information and Mercury has its place. I'm not hating on Mercury. But I think with Pisces and Jupiter, you see how having that deep trust, that's more like a vibe, an energy, like it's going to work out. Oh, well, did you need to see the itinerary? No, it'll be fine. I can't wait to it'll surprise me. You know what I mean? And sometimes in life, I think sometimes when someone's trying to manifest, when they go into like a panic when they find out that like, oh, that's not going to happen that way. To me, it's a little bit of a red flag with their energy. Just in that I'm like, you could manifest this so much better if you just like were chill about things. If you just were like, oh, okay, so that's not going to work out. Okay, cool. That's fine. I think that's also why Pisces and Jupiter, or excuse me, Sag, tend to get stereotyped as having like a fear of commitment. I don't know that it's a fear of commitment. It may be, but I also think it's just a unwillingness to settle down because there's no fear motivating it. You know what I mean? Like a Sag is like, well, why would I marry this person when, yeah, I like them, but they do this, 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 and I might meet someone tomorrow that I could fall in love with. I'm traveling to like Belize and maybe I'll find someone on my trip. And same with Pisces. There's kind of this trust in like, it's all gonna be good. So why would I hunker down and panic? And yeah, I think it's funny because sometimes people give them flack for that. But again, two very lucky signs. Sagittarians are so lucky, ruled by luck, literally. And then Pisces, I always like to mention, they are like the wealthiest sign year after year. So it's clearly working. And sometimes, you know, I will say like in a private reading or something, sometimes you'll have to tell someone like, oh, I don't think that's going to work out. And I always think it's, you know, I'm not mad about it, but I always think it's kind of funny when someone's like, oh my God, but it has to happen like that. It's like, no, it doesn't. It can happen a million different ways. And if you're super stressed about like, well, my boyfriend has to propose or we have to get married, or you know, the business has to do well. That's such an energy that's not really aligned with manifesting, you know? And if you can take it to a place where you're like, okay, so if this doesn't work out, then I'll still be good. And you can have that confidence and that joyful optimism and truly know it in your bones, then I honestly think you'd be in a much better place. And that's why I've always like, it also may be my Aries third house or Mercury in the first, squaring Pluto. I don't know. But whenever I get private readings, I always tell them like, please be as bluntly honest as possible. Like I just want the honest truth. Like, because a lot of these readers, like they will sugarcoat because they're so they're so afraid, because sometimes during readings people will get like really upset with you if you don't tell them like you're about to win the lottery and everything's gonna be awesome and blah blah blah. So I would always tell them, like, just preface it with like, and you can be as honest as possible. I have Mercury square Pluto, so like, say whatever you need to say. I just want the truth. And when I think about that, I think, because now they would always be like, are you sure? And I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm sure. And now I realize why they would seem surprised, because it is kind of rare. A lot of times, sometimes this happens that someone will be like, no, I want the honest truth. And you can feel that resonance. But a lot of times someone will ask for a reading, but then they're very attached to like, it has to look like this. I want this answer. And when I think about like why that difference is, I think it's because probably I'm just very optimistic. So if you told me that relationship isn't going to work out, in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. So something else will come in. Or if you told me, well, that career thing isn't going to work out, I'm like, okay, great. Spirit will provide me something else. And I think that's the common factor I find with people who are like totally down for the truth, is mostly just they have this trust, they have this optimism, they have this sense of like it's going to work out somehow. And I honestly think when you can tune into that somehow, even if you have felt beaten down, even if you have felt like things haven't worked out for you and it's been a really hard time, I totally get it. But if you can somehow tune into an energy of optimism, I honestly think things work out for you so much better and it literally changes the outcome. And just knowing that sometimes we do have to be diverted off a certain path. It's kind of like if you see a little kid and they're screaming at the top of their lungs because their mom wouldn't let them eat like a lollipop, or sometimes it's even something stupider like that, like a child is trying to like eat dirt or, you know, play with like, a piece of glass or, like turn on the oven and get inside and they're like screaming because their mom isn't letting them do those things and they're crying and they're sobbing. And that's kind of like sometimes us with spirit. I think like something is supposed to end our life in not end our life, that would be really intense, end in our lives, and we get so attached to it and we're just convinced because we had this plan, we had pictured it all, we knew that it was supposed to work out like this and it was going to look like that and then this was going to happen. And of course that's why there's a saying, make plans, God laughs. And so it's like, if you could imagine just like that little kid that the mom is withholding the little shard of glass from them for their benefit, and the mom is not letting them gorge themselves on lollipops now because they have an amazing, delicious, nutritious dinner that's going to be so much healthier for them. And when they grow up to be an adult, they're going to be super glad if their mom doesn't just give them lollipops 24/7. They're going to have way better nutrition, probably grow taller and be a lot healthier with better teeth if they're, fed a nutritious, balanced diet and not just a stream of lollipops. So even though that may not be what they want in that moment, long term, it's for their benefit. So for some of you guys, this could be a new, an ending that's actually going to be happening for you. Something leaving your life. And I feel like the more you can, this process may already be happening as well. And I feel like the more you can trust that this new beginning is coming in after, and this is for your benefit, and you can just adjust. Because also the hanged man is like adjusting to that perspective change. It's agreeing to see the world differently. It's agreeing to look at things from an upside down perspective that maybe you wouldn't have had in the past. Let's get one more card to clarify this energy. What is new beginning is coming pile number 2's way? Oh, that was too many cards. Let's see if I'm gonna get one more. Okay. So we got the Ace of Swords. So this could be sudden communication for some of you guys. It could be a message from someone that you're not expecting, or it even could be like a new idea or new intellectual opportunity. So if you have felt a little like stuck creatively, like maybe you've been trying to write, or maybe you've been trying to have an idea for a project with your career, it might just be a sudden download of like, I should write about that, or I should do this advertising campaign or something when it relates to your career that's like an intellectual concept coming to your mind. And then with the Knight of Pentacles, it might relate to your money, your career in that sense. So you might be on a new career path in some way. Some of you guys might be pivoting what you do in some way. So maybe you've been working in a certain field and you pivot to a similar field, but not quite the same. Or maybe you're at your same job, but you just want to do it differently. Or maybe you get a new client and this client allows you to see things a little different. Maybe you just learn something. And there's also this message that sometimes, the best lessons we learn generally come from a little bit of hardship. Usually Saturn is involved, and it's almost like, the best lessons you learn are probably from like those difficult clients that are kind of rude to you, or from the boss who's really hard on you, or from the teacher that makes you stay super late and like copy the notes exactly down and things like that, so it's not necessarily the most fun energy, I guess. It's not like, it's kind of like when you're in school, right? Summer vacation is when you get to go on like water parks and you get to go to the amusement parks and go on the roller coaster and have so much fun, but that's not really what you get to do during the school year. You kind of are in school mode and then you get to have your fun mode, but they're not necessarily at the same time. Sometimes they are, but sometimes it's like the lessons we're learning, as hard as they may be, are exactly what we need to go through to take us to that next level. And I feel like it has that resonance. I know for me, whenever I've like leveled up in a certain area, it's always felt like I'm like slogging through something. It's always felt like I'm like, oh, this is going wrong and that's going wrong. And then at a certain point, it's like the energy lifts, and then I'm like, oh, suddenly things are so much easier. And suddenly I just feel like I mastered this and I'm not against so much opposition. And this just feels like it's flowing. But it's kind of like you have to pass through that energy of obstruction and blocks and obstacles in order to get to the other side of like, wow, this is easy. I really figured this out. And even Malcolm Gladwell like wrote a book about that. He says you need like 10,000 hours to master any field, which sounds like a whole lot, but I think that they've done studies and they found that there's some truth to that. I don't know. I don't think it's like exactly that amount, and like something changes in your mind at the 59-second mark. But I do think that there's some truth to like it does take you a while to really get so comfortable in something, and that process of learning whatever it is very hard a lot of times. Like, when we're in the learning mode, it can just feel like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I'm so bad at this. And it's kind of like you have to repeat that and keep pushing up against it and keep feeling blocked and keep wondering like, what am I doing? Why isn't this working out? And then finally, like I said, the fog lifts and suddenly we feel like, wow, I'm like flying. This is so easy. But you can only get to that energy by going through like the tough times. And I think that they've found that, actually, like when they roll balls down a little, I saw something on TikTok of like rolling a ball down this little ramp, I guess, and they just rolled one down a straight ramp like this, and then there was a ramp that was like that, and it was like real crazy, zigzagged, went super high up and then super far down. So they put the balls on the ramp at the exact same time and released them at the exact same time. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, okay, the one on the straight ramp is going to go way faster. I mean, there's no contest. Like, this is so much more space. It's going so much more distance because this is like obstructed. No, the actual one on the really curvy ramp that was like going up and down, that one went way faster and got to the destination way earlier. So that's proof that we do need those low times. We need those obstacles. We need the hardship to get to the destination. It stinks when you're going through the low time. It stinks when things just feel like they're not working out for you. It stinks when it feels like you're kind of slogging through quicksand. Like this whole Burning Man thing was just happening where everyone was stuck in the desert and some people had to like walk through the wet playa mud, which I think is pretty toxic, is what I heard. So it's like actually it can burn the skin and it's really bad, which is scary and sad. But it was kind of like quicksand, and you were seeing footage of people like slogging their way through. Sometimes it can feel like that, and of course that stinks. But again, I think actually it's in those moments when we develop the most strength. It's in those moments when we really are setting ourselves up for like this Wheel of Fortune moment, when the wheel is turning in the right direction, when we're going to be on top, and when we're really developing mastery and getting better at whatever skill we need to be better in this field. So if you guys have felt a little bit stuck or blocked, I feel like this is your message to just kind of like keep going, and that things are going to be easier for you guys. You're going to have a breakthrough. You're going to have maybe all the blockages lessen a little bit. Things are going to kind of cool off for you. So as hard as it is, of course, to go through it, as hard as it is sometimes, and as much as we would like things to just be a straight line and no trouble and we know what's happening, actually it's those moments when we're feeling low that we're probably setting ourselves up to get there even faster, even better. So yeah, I think that's what I have for you guys. Pile 2. I hope it resonated. If you want to watch more of my videos on here, I have plenty of videos here on YouTube and some on Patreon as well, over 65 on Patreon. I just posted one all about what you're destined to have in this lifetime, and before that I posted one all about early dating. So if you just started dating someone and you're in an early relationship with them, that's a great one to watch. But as soon as you sign up for Patreon, you'll get access to over 65 of my readings, and there's all kinds of topics you guys also suggest, and we vote on new ones over there, so it's very interactive. So if you'd like to join me on Patreon, I would love to have you, and you can sign up at the link underneath the timestamps in my description and in the comments as well. And if you want to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can also get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can get a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology or channel for you, and you get to really ask me whatever you would like during your time with me. So yeah, within reason, of course. But yeah, so if you'd like that, go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link is in my description for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am sending you so much love and light, and I'll be back again very soon, guys. Take care. Bye. Hey, Pile 3, welcome to your reading. We're going to be doing a live shuffle today because I was just feeling that vibe. So let's see what the cards have to say about what new beginnings are heading your way. Oh, we got 2 for you. Okay. Oh my goodness. And they're so similar. Wow. I love when Spirit confirms that like these are exactly the cards that they wanted to tell you. So we got the 5 of Swords reversed and the 7 of Swords. So I'm not going to lie, to be honest with you, that could be someone betraying you, deceiving you, not telling you the truth in some way. It can be a situation in which afterwards you do feel betrayed, or you feel like someone kind of took you for a ride, you know, or took money from you or took something from you or didn't treat you well. So this could be a bit of a warning. Like if some of you guys are dealing with shady coworkers, shady people around you, shady people in general, if you feel like you're dealing with fake friends, this may be a message for you to put up a boundary, not to overlook red flags, is what I'm hearing in my mind. So if you have someone that maybe you feel iffy about, if you have someone that maybe you're like, like they act friendly, but I just don't know, I get a weird feeling about them sometimes, listen, because, I always think that feeling we get after someone betrays us, it's like we're not even mad at them. We're mad at ourselves because we knew it the whole time and we just didn't listen. And we're mad at ourselves because we didn't pay attention to our intuition, even though we actually deep down knew exactly what was going on. So this can be a message for you about noticing things, not just brushing it under the rug. I always think, with the 5 of Swords and the 7 of Swords, you can see with this 7 of Swords, he's like stealing the swords away, and you can see how just shady this dude looks. And you could just imagine that even if this guy came in and he was acting all nice and friendly, just with his shady energy, and, we all know someone like that who maybe smiles to our face, is friendly to us, but deep down, they don't really, the smile doesn't reach their eyes, or they just don't seem like they fully mean it. And I always think a good solution to this too is also just being very in touch with what your goals are, what you want. Because I think sometimes in life, the things we regret are like overextending ourselves for someone else. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you want something, but someone's like, oh, well, we don't really have it in that color. Will you take this color instead? And instead of being like, oh, no, I'll come back tomorrow, I want that color, we say like, yeah, it's fine. It's no big deal. You know what I mean? Or we have a coworker that is kind of rude to us, but we don't want to make a stink, so we just ignore it, and then they end up stabbing us in the back. It's kind of like that feeling of betraying yourself, that feeling of like, this isn't really what I want, this isn't really what, but let me just go along with it so that everyone else is happy. Let me just not make a scene. Let me pretend everything is fine. So this is your message, and take it as a little bit of a warning that there could be someone who just has bad intentions for you. But in general, I also think, like I said, there's that energy of betraying ourselves. There's that energy of just blowing past a bunch of red lights, red stop signs, red flags, and just pretending that we didn't see them. It's that person that does a few things that kind of seem like a little bit of a, bad behavior on their part, but we kind of make excuses and we say like, I don't think they meant it like that, whatever. And it's that intuition tugging at us, being like, stay away from this person, and us not really wanting to put ourselves in the situation of having to actually extricate ourselves. Actually, because it's kind of like, it's a lot of work sometimes to extricate yourself from a situation. You know, whenever you hear those stories about like a horrible disaster happening or something really bad happening in an area, I know for me, like my reaction is always like, oh my gosh, well, why didn't those people leave? Like, if they knew that blah, blah, blah was about to happen, they should have left. They should have left town. But the reality of it happening to you is it can be a situation where you're like, but I don't want to leave all my stuff. I don't want to pack up all my stuff. I mean, that can be a real thing. Like, I had a situation like that where like there was all this craziness happening around in this area I was in, and I was like, well, well, maybe I can just deal with it, because I really didn't feel like going to all the work to like pack my stuff up and then like, you know, leave in the middle of the night or try to like, you know, like drive super far. Like, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just kind of like deal with this. And I think so many of us do that in life, and honestly, it's such a stupid thing to do. What you need to do is like, because I think honestly a lot of the times why you don't do something is like, yeah, but I know this friend is kind of shady, but like I have to make new friends and I don't really want to make new friends. Or yeah, I know this coworker is kind of like, yeah, they seem like they have it out for me, but like I don't have to look for a new job. Or yeah, I know my partner's kind of treats me badly and isn't that nice to me, and they kind of make passive aggressive digs at me, but like I really don't want to be single again. You know what I mean? And some of it is just being willing to like stick to your guns and just be like, no, that's actually not what I want, and I'm not comfortable with that. Bye. And trusting that the universe will take care of you. But I do think like there's red flags that need to be listened to. There's some shadiness or some bad behavior that could happen for some of you guys. And the Five of Swords can also just talk about losing a battle, losing at something. With it reversed like that, it could still be a loss. It could also be a loss that like you avert at the end of, you know, at the last moment. But you know, I'm not thrilled whenever I see the Five of Swords, and definitely not when it's coming out next to the Seven of Swords, reversed or not. So I think for you, there is the energy of just being careful. And you know, sometimes the best way of dealing with someone is like not engaging. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when you think of like the water signs, for example, this is what's coming to my mind. It's funny because all the water signs have protection except one, right? So there's Cancer, which has the hard shell of the crab. Then there's the Scorpion, which also has a hard shell. Scorpion has a hard shell, as well as the stinger. So it's like we're up in the protection, right? And the crabs have little pinchers. And then there's the fish, right? And that has no protection at all, which is kind of funny because it's actually the final sign of the water. And kind of like as the wheel, astrological wheel ticks, you kind of get higher and higher and higher in like the type of lessons you're learning, and it's getting harder and harder. So by the time you reach the end of the astrological wheel, you're actually dealing with some pretty hardcore energies, right? Like Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, they're all pretty tough. So it's like, wait a minute, what is Pisces just doing at the end? Just this little fish swimming around, no protection. All the other water signs were given protection for their little soft emotional centers. Pisces protection is actually avoidance. That's why Pisces can be sometimes avoidant of things they shouldn't do. But what's really interesting about that is like how effective it is. You know, like, yeah, it's great to have a sword to fight someone when you need to, but what's better than that? Probably just like not fighting them at all, you know? So Pisces just deals with their emotions or deals with the collective by sometimes just ignoring it. And that's why sometimes people can be like, oh my God, Pisces is, you know, they're delusional, they're in their own world. It's like, yeah, because they just don't want to deal with all the emotions. Like, they've been through life as a Cancer, they've been through life as a Scorpio, and they kind of will engage and then disengage, leave it behind, swim off, and like distract themselves and go watch a movie. You know what I mean? And there's something to be said for that in a way. Like, there's a reason why that's the 12th sign. And that's all, you know, they've learned the lessons of the other signs, is because sometimes the best thing you can do is just remove yourself, just avoid the conflict, not even try to fight with someone, not even try to go head to head with the jerky coworker you have who makes digs at you, not even try to teach them a lesson, not even try to get one over on them, but to just be like, I'm staying away from you, or like, I'm leaving, I'm quitting this job and not showing up for work the next day. Like literally, that can sometimes be you winning a huge battle that you don't even realize. And I think so much of the time, like whatever we give our energy to, is it should be super purposeful, because that's like a loss for us. You know, when we give our energy to a situation, even if we feel like we came out on top of it, if it was like this needless fight, needless energy drain, is that really a win? I mean, I don't know if that's a win. You know, sometimes the best thing we can do is like immediately sense that nasty energy from someone, and or that off vibe, and just leave. You know, there's a reason why it was a Pisces who said that iconic quote, the immediately no, that went viral on TikTok, because Justin Bieber's a Pisces. And like the immediately no, immediately no, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a no. That I feel like is such a Pisces quote, because that's basically what we'll do, is like sense the energy's off and swim away, not even engaging, just ghosting. And honestly, there's something to be said for that. So for you guys, if there's someone who's trying to take your attention, if some situation is janky and you sense that someone doesn't like you, or that there's a mean boss, the question is, why are you staying around with it? Why deal with it? Of course, I know there's financial realities, and sometimes you're like, oh, I can't quit because I have to pay my bills. I totally get it. But I think sometimes the better we can like deal with it and just leave or admit a situation to ourselves, the better. So maybe you can't quit today, but maybe you can put your resume out there and start sending out your resume and start applying for new jobs. And then you can quit in a month or 2 months or however long it takes to like get everything in place, you know? But I don't think we should just be like, well, I'm just going to stay right here. You know, it's kind of like, if you can think of the archetype of the fish as well, it hears a noise on the shore, immediately swims off. Immediately. Like I said, immediately no. That's like the quote of the Pisces. That's the quote of the fish. They're like, nope, and they just swim away. And honestly, there is something to be said for that. And it's hard to catch a fish. It's really hard to catch a fish. You know, for being like completely defenseless, they're pretty good at like defending themselves, because it's hard to catch one. I mean, you'll see men like posted up on the shore, grown, strong men, you know, with like big muscles, 200 pounds of muscle, 6'3" or something. And they're up there on the shore waiting for hours to get like 5 fish. You know what I mean? They could probably have hunted down any other animal in that time, but they're waiting for like 5 fish that are like that big, and you know what I mean? They can't get them. So there is something to be said that sometimes when someone is trying to take us down, or someone has it out for us, or someone is going after us, we don't even need to deal with it head on. We can deal with it by taking our energy back and just being like, well, bye. Nope, not dealing with you today, and just ignoring it. So however you want to deal with this, I just feel like you should be aware that there are people who may not be receptive to your energy. They may be haters. They may just not get you, whatever the case may be. I do feel like there's this energy of like, be aware of this, and also be aware of your energy and yourself and where you're headed and all of that. Don't just, I think the worst thing you can do is just blithely and carelessly spread your energy around, deal with anyone. Every time I've made mistakes or let someone toxic into my life, it was because I was in that energy of like, oh, who am I to judge? Well, I'm sure they meant it to be nice. Well, whatever. You know what? Yeah, that was kind of, yeah, that comment was a little rude, but you know, maybe I think they're stressed. That is such the worst energy to be in. The best energy is to be selective, not closed off, but selective. And if it's not resonating as like good to you, just moving on, you know? So whatever this is, I don't know what it is, but like I said, be careful and treat your energy as the precious jewel it is. And look, we got cups. As I'm talking about all the water signs, we get the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Water. And you know, I think with that, again, it's that message to pay attention to your intuitions. The Queen of Cups is highly psychic. Water rules psychic abilities. Water pays attention to their intuition. That's the thing that unites all the water signs, is like wordless communication. Like, I think, you know, it's not even just about like, sometimes it's hard explaining psychic stuff to people, because it's like, it's not even meant to be understood with words. It's a vibe. It's an energy. It's a feeling. It's not a word. You know, it's not, whenever I'm hanging out with like my water dominant friends, It's not something where you have to like explain a situation perfectly and they'll be like, wait, what did you, wait, so you said you had met him where exactly and what, so and then he had texted you. They just get it immediately, like you don't even need to remind them. You'll just be like, remember that guy from like last Wednesday? Oh yeah, him. Yeah, what about him? You know what I mean? And it's just like wordless. And sometimes I think so much of the time people hold themselves back by trying to think about things logically, by trying to think about things like with their Mercury minds, trying to understand like the data and being like, yeah, my boss is toxic, but this job, it's a great feeder. Then I could make that connection. And they went to that college. And then, so if I applied to that position and then that college, you know what I mean, like thinking, overthinking it, when all it should feel, all you should pay attention to is like, does this feel good? Does this feel positive? Does this feel like it's connecting? Does this feel like the right situation? And if it does, that's a yes. And if it doesn't, that's a no. And there doesn't even have to be any lick of logic to it. I know that's so hard for Mercury like type people to understand, or not even Mercury people. I nothing against Virgos, Geminis, but it's like we live in such a society that just is so like facts and logic-y. You know, it's like, oh, well, do you have a statistic for that? What's the data about that? Blah, 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 you know? And like, I keep thinking, I told you guys, like, I am obsessed with the fact that they did that study and they found that ice cream helped people lose like several extra pounds, and they hid it and they hid it. They hid that data, which I think is crazy. And it says everything about how crazy it is that we trust like science to that extent, because these scientists knew that, but they had no way of explaining it. So they just they repeated that study a bunch of times, and every time it said ice cream helped you be healthier or lose weight. And to me, this makes perfect sense, because I literally used to tell, maybe this is why I'm obsessed with it, because ice cream, I always say, is my favorite food. I've mentioned it before on this channel, but I don't eat it all the time because I used to when I was younger, but then everyone would say it was so unhealthy. And so I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it does seem unhealthy. Like, it's got sugar, and unless you're making like homemade ice cream, it's got like sometimes add-ins and like gums and, you know, food coloring or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be eating that every day. But deep down, I remember having several discussions with different friends being like, but I feel like I always feel good after eating ice cream, and I do feel like it's healthy. And I know that sounds crazy even still, right? Even though that study's come out and now we all know that that's not crazy, but it still sounds crazy because we have this very rooted idea of nutrition that's very limited to like facts and data, even though nutrition information seems to change every single day. There's a study being like, butter is bad for you. No, butter is good. Like, carbs are bad. No, butter, no, carbs are really good and they're really important. This is bad for you. This is good. Every day it changes, yet all of us are still like in this little hamster wheel trying to be like, okay, so I'm not doing carbs today. Okay, so we're doing keto or whatever. Okay, so keto is bad. Okay, so I'm doing mostly fruit. Okay, cool. So I'll just do a fruit juice cleanse, and then okay, so that's really bad, and that'll spike my blood sugar. Okay, so I'm not gonna, like, all of us are like trying to figure this out. Clearly, it makes no sense. I mean, you know, like there seems to be no logic. It seems to change all the time. And what if we just literally ate intuitively? And I'm not talking about, well, let me just go eat the most processed junk, because I know personally, I don't feel good after eating like processed stuff that's like super processed, run through, you know, a bunch of like machines until it's like barely, you know, barely no nutrition left and with additives. I always feel horrible when I'm like on a road trip and having to eat like fast food every day, you know? So I'm not talking about that. But like, if you've ever eaten like actual like homemade ice cream or artisanal ice cream that's mostly just cream and sugar and egg and salt and, you know, maybe some like chocolate if it's a chocolate flavored one, or some cacao or whatever. Truly, I always feel amazing after it. So that's why I would always literally bring up to my friends and be like, but I feel so good after eating ice cream, and I don't understand this. I don't understand why. I think it's really good for you. And they'd kind of laugh it off and be like, oh, right. Of course you think that. Yeah, I'm sure. And now that this study found out, I'm like, oh my God. And to me, it is the perfect example of why we need to listen to our intuition above everything. Because truly, people lie, science isn't perfect, people can't figure a damn thing out, it seems to me, because again, it's always changing day in, day out. They're like, oh, sorry, we messed that up. That's wrong. Yeah, we know we told you to give up milk. Turns out you really need it. Sorry. It's always changing. So you might as well listen to your diet, what's good for you, what your body responds to. And again, I think that's where like Queen of Cups is coming out, like listening to your intuition above all of it. It makes me mad because I'm like, all these years that I could have been eating ice cream, my favorite food, and I would like limit it for special occasions and be like, no, 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 like, it's bad for you. Now I'm like, if only I had listened to my heart, I would have been eating this every day, and I'd probably be healthier according to these studies. So my point is whatever that is in your life, don't be the person giving up ice cream because you heard it's bad when your heart tells you it's good. And by the same token, don't be the person sticking it out at a job when your heart is telling you, no, girl, this is wrong. And don't be the person, being like, well, I'm not going to date this person because my friends say he's sketchy, if your heart is truly into it. And I'm not saying, by the way, that you should blow past, like, if everyone's like, well, wait a minute, he was convicted for a serious crime. Like, I don't know if you're listening to your intuition at that point. Intuition should override everything. Intuition should feel calm. It shouldn't feel like, when I say eat the food you want, I'm not talking about ripping into 8,000 calories and having like a weird binge eating session of like a bunch of stuff you got from 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? That's not healthy, and that wouldn't resonate with you. But if you're doing that, you're not acting from a place of intuition anyway. You're not listening to your body and how your body feels, right? Because your body does not want that kind of junk. I'm talking about if you eat like a steak and you feel super activated and good, and you eat some fruit and you feel great, and maybe you want some, like I said, organic, really healthy ice cream without a bunch of junky stuff added in, then that's your body telling you that's a go ahead, And so much of the time, instead of listening to ourselves, we let other people give us our opinions. We let other people tell us what's healthy or tell us what we need to do. Or we try to think about things from like a rational perspective of like, well, society says this, or this is on my career path, or I need to do this because that's what other people say. When the reality is that we're the ultimate authority of our lives. And I think the worst feeling you can get is the feeling that you made a bad choice or you went down the wrong path and it wasn't even really for you. It was for something else. It was for some goal that we were pursuing or we were looking after or we were trying to make happen, and we didn't even get it. Like someone sabotaged us, or it wasn't going to work out. And if we just listened to that feeling from the beginning, we wouldn't even be in that situation. So I guess this is asking you, what are you not listening to? There may be a situation coming your way or a change coming your way that might kind of test you a little bit about like, are you really going to trust yourself, or are you going to override that? Are you just going to listen to like, well, my mom really says I need to go to law school, so I'm going to go to law school even though I don't really want to and it doesn't resonate with me, but I need to become a lawyer because that makes a lot of money. When the reality is that you really want to be an artist and your art is freaking amazing, and if you actually became an artist, you could make so much money on that and be successful beyond your wildest dreams. Or vice versa, you're like, I really am trying to make it as an artist because being a lawyer is lame, and society thinks lawyers are like scum, so I'm just going to be an artist and I'm just going to go to art school because I want people to perceive me that way. But on my free time, I'm watching like the court YouTube channels and I'm reading about different court cases and I'm fascinated by it. And I love the way like my mind works when it comes to that. Then that's what you should listen to, So yeah, I think you guys need to navigate this situation, whatever it may be, by really tuning into your intuition and really listening to yourself. Let's get one more card for pile number 3. What unexpected new changes are happening and coming their way? 4 of Swords reversed. That can definitely talk about not really listening to yourself, because you can see and I'm trying to get 1 card, not 2. You can see he's laying down. He's he's sleeping, but he's not really listening. So with it being reversed like that, it can be someone who's not really listening to their dreams. This could also be a message to you to literally write down your dreams. We get so many vivid messages about our dreams through our dreams. We get so, if you write it down, you'll be amazed to see like the patterns, the messages. You'll be amazed to be like, oh my God, this was precursor to this, or this is telling me this. Like once I started writing down my dreams, I have been in blown away by the fact that there's like so many similar motifs and locations. Like I'm like, why am I going to the same locations in my dreams? It's almost like I live in a place in my dreams that's different from like it's like the same place. Like it's so crazy. I didn't know that. I thought all my dreams were super different, but since I started writing it down, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to like all the same spots. And it's really interesting to see what that is. And you might not even notice it because a lot of it gets wiped away when we kind of wake. And when we make it into a habit of actually writing down our dreams, trust me, you'll be like, it takes everything to the next level. It's so cool. So for some of you guys, this could be, again, how important your intuition is going to be, making sure that you get sleep at this time, making sure that you get your rest, making sure that, you're really respecting your time to get downloads and meditate and tune into the other side, and how reliant you're going to be on your intuition to navigate whatever this is. And that can be the gift of these difficult situations, as we come out of them so much more aligned with our intuition, so much more trusting of our intuition. And what's great about our intuition is with this Nine of Pentacles, like it really allows you to have more ease as well. The Nine of Pentacles is a card of easiness. So it's almost like once we can learn to stop fighting against the currents, and that, it's funny, as I'm saying that, I'm like, that sounds like another fish metaphor, because I didn't mean it like that, but that's literally what that is like going with the flow of the currents. We can stop fighting against the currents, and we can just learn to flow with them and listen to our intuition in that way. Then we can really go to those magical places that life intends to us and for us. And whenever we're in a situation where like things just don't seem to be working out and people just seem to be coming against us, and it just really feels negative and it feels like people don't get us or whatever, that is a sign that we're not in flow. That's a sign that that's not where we're supposed to be. So I think for you guys, you're going to be able to handle this, whatever this is, but it's kind of like that question of like, what are you overriding intuition wise? What are you not listening to? What are you going against? And how much quicker can you align with your intuition and stop like blotting it out in favor of that rational mind? Because I always think the rational mind, like, call me a hater of it, but I just think it is not how you should be making your decisions. So anyways, I hope that resonated. Pile 3, let me know if it did in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys. And if you want to see more of my content, check out the rest of my channel over here. And of course on Patreon, I just posted a reading over there all about what's destined for you in this lifetime. And before that, an early relationship reading, perfect for someone you just started dating. And there's lots of other readings over there, over 65, and you'll get access to all of them as soon as you sign up. You guys also suggest, and then we vote on new readings, so it's very interactive as well. So if you want to join me over on Patreon, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description, and I would love to see you there. Also, if you guys would like to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can also get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. You can sign up for a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you, and you can ask me pretty much whatever you want within reason. So yeah, it's very open-ended. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I am sending you so much love and light, and I'll be back again very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, Pile 4, welcome to your reading. I felt like doing a live shuffle today, so that's what we are going to do. We want to find out all about the unexpected changes coming your way. So we got the Devil, okay. Let's see what else. Judgment, okay. So there may be some karma for someone who has betrayed you or treated you badly. If someone has tried to control you, if someone has tried to misuse power over you, they may be receiving some karma. This could also be a message for you not to do that to someone else. You might be put in a position of authority where you're going to have to like, tell people things or guide people or just have people looking up to you. And this is almost like a message not to misuse that. or to do any wrong with that. But I also feel like this could be a message about you getting to see karma from someone who was misusing that in some way. So if someone has treated you badly or been mean to you or done wrong things to you, this could be them, you getting to be lucky enough to witness them, you know, having to learn some hard lessons or getting to witness their downfall in some way. Yeah, because this can be a very heavy karmic resolution happening. It could be the resolution of something that maybe could even be a legal issue hanging over your head. If you've had legal issues at the back of your mind, or something that was unresolved, or something, could even be something like you're waiting to hear back about, you know, something that has to do with legals or double checking paperwork or whatever, you might be receiving a message about that. You might get approved or denied, but you might finally have some resolution and be like, okay, so I know where this is headed. I know what's going on. But I feel like there is this element of like someone doing you wrong or treating you bad. I don't know if that's within the legal case or what, but for some of you guys, you might get to witness some vindication. You might be the one who comes out on top, and that might be a really nice feeling. It's almost like, okay, so this did not go unnoticed by spirit. I think it's so hard because sometimes when we're in the thick of it, it can really seem like someone got away with it. And I honestly, I brought this up in another reading recently, but truly, I just think the timing, to me, when I think about it, I'm kind of like mind blown that this timing happened so publicly that everyone got to witness it. Because like I said, I truly believe like spirit can be petty, and spirit sometimes likes to make it like perfectly clear what the heck is going on. That's why like Psalm 23, super powerful psalm to say, says, he prepareth me a table in the presence of mine enemies. You could be down the road, across the street. You could be in another restaurant nearby. Spirit's like, oh no, they're going to have to be sitting there watching you eat your little feast, and they're going to have to see it. So anyway, I think the whole Taylor Swift and Kanye thing, the reason why I think it's crazy arranged karmic stuff is because you know that he had like his thing last fall, and kind of like some people were calling it a meltdown. Regardless, the consequences is what I'm paying attention to. He ended up getting a total cancellation of his bank accounts. He's not allowed to bank anywhere, right? So what ended up happening is within the span of a week, that single week, he ended up like losing $1 billion, bank accounts taken away, all of that, right? Now, this happened to be the same week that Taylor Swift's album was released, and it went #1. And this was like her biggest album since like 1989, and everyone loved it. It was getting rave reviews, and it went to #1, and it broke all these records. It literally filled the top 10 on Billboard. Now, Taylor Swift doesn't release albums all the time. So what the heck is this timing? Like, I'm sorry, but I just think that this is very interesting timing. Like, if it had happened totally across timelines from each other, I wouldn't notice it. But this I noticed because I'm like, of all the times in the whole year, like the two biggest events of these people's careers, and they've been weirdly tied and doing this karmic dance for like 10 years, and now this happens again. But you know, the thing about it is karma is weird like that. Karma loves to be specific and like rub it in your nose. I can't tell you, like for example, like I mentioned this to someone else recently, but I was at a party once, and I saw this girl who was so mean to me when I was in middle school. I think I've mentioned this before. Anyway, I saw her at a party, like we ran into each other, and I didn't recognize her because, well, she wasn't looking super good. But the funny thing is I was dressed to the nines. Like that party, I had just, for some reason, like I just gotten my hair done. It was kind of a random coincidence, but like my hair was looking amazing. It literally left the salon, and I was like, oh, perfect timing. Like we have this party to go to, so I'll like go to the salon first. I need to get my hair done anyway, and yeah, like I'll have like a blowout. So again, like literally perfect. Couldn't have timed it better. And I didn't do this on purpose. I wasn't like knowing she was going to be at the party. Even at the party, again, didn't recognize her. So I didn't know who this chick was who kept looking over at me, and she was looking kind of not super friendly. So eventually I'm like, do I know this lady? Whatever. So I started like smiling at her and kind of doing like, a half smile, like friendly smile, like, hi, because like, why are you looking at me? And when I tell you, she glared back. So at this point, I'm like, there's something weird going on. And I finally like grabbed my friend and I'm like, who's that lady? Is that? And I had thought it was someone who was like way older that I knew. And she was like, no, that's Sarah, let's say. And I'm like, that's Sarah? And she's like, yeah, that's Sarah. Do you want to go say hi? And I'm like, no, I definitely don't want to go say hi. But I just thought it was so funny. She looked so bad, and I mean horrible, that I didn't even recognize her. And the funniest thing was, is like Spirit didn't have to do it like that. Like I said, I think Spirit is petty, and they literally arranged, like, it's like I am not the kind of person who gets my hair blown out before every party. Like that's just not my vibe at all. But that day it was just random timing. Like makeup was done. You know how sometimes like you do your makeup, your hair, and you're like, wow, I really outdid myself. I look great today. Like the makeup's on point, the dress, the heels, everything looks fabulous. Ah, I love this outfit. And it's almost like that's the perfect outfit in which if you could script like running into an ex-boyfriend or randomly getting stopped on the street to be in like a news interview with the local evening news, you'd be like, oh, this outfit, yeah, that's perfect. That's the perfect dress. And of course it never happens like that, right? But it happened that day because truly I feel like that outfit was like so cute, 10 out of 10 cuteness. And she was looking horrible, absolutely shocking. I truly did not recognize her. That, and I'm not joking. I was like, you cannot be serious. That's her. And she was like, yeah. And I don't want to go into specifics of like why she looked so bad, but she looked really bad. And my point is Spirit did not have to do that. That's like a long time ago, right? Honestly, I'm over it to the point where like I can't even believe that she was glaring at me so hard because I'm like, I cannot fathom that this chick is still so mad about it because truly, like, I moved on. I don't care. I don't want to be besties with this chick, but I wouldn't mind being like, hey, cheers, to like crazy middle school experiences. But anyway, she's still hating, and I can't blame her because I'd be hating too if I was in her shoes and having to look at me looking fabulous while she's, looking like a troll, to be honest with you. So my point is I truly believe Spirit is that petty that even years later, Spirit's like, oh no, we're doing this, we're arranging this, we're having this weird little setup, because I've had more than one experience like that. A hater where just the timing is so strange and you're like, why am I in this? And then boom, you run into that person and you're looking fantastic. And I truly believe Spirit orchestrated that timing of the Kanye and Taylor thing because he had done her so dirty lying to her about that video or the recording years before. And it was so weird how like literally all the people Taylor named, I mean, there's some weird karma around Taylor. I swear there's certain people I think are like a third rail of like karma that you don't want to mess with, because also weird stuff has happened to like Scooter Braun and Kim Kardashian, everyone who was involved in that, Justin, I mean, everyone has had just horrible stuff in their life. It's crazy. And she has that song now, Karma, that was on that album. So I don't know. I mean, call it a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. I think Spirit was making that happen so that it would be shown to the world that karma is real. And I think the hard part is like being in the midst of when you haven't seen any of that happen. When you're a year in, 2 years in, and you're like, wow, that person really got away with it. That person really got away with what they did. I can't believe they treated me so bad. And they are thriving and everything's going great for them. And I truly think the example that had happened to me, like I said, in middle school, like there's no day that I go around thinking about this random chick from middle school. Okay. She's not on my radar. I don't even really care because I feel like when you're in middle school, you're immature anyway. So like, I don't like this girl, but I'm not like enraged with her. It's like, whatever, she was young and mean and, I don't know. I just don't care that much. It was from middle school. Like if I was still crying over that, it would be a little strange. But she was still mad, and she was really mad that day. And that's the thing, is like, I truly believe that Spirit keeps tabs of all those things, even years later, even when you have moved on, you're good, you're thriving. Spirit's like, oh no, We remember that. So again, if there's some situation in your life that you feel like someone else won, if you feel like they got off scot-free, if you feel like they're thriving and they're just living their best life and nothing's going to happen to them, this may be an unexpected change coming in to teach you that no, spirit remembers all of it, and it may be a reckoning for this person. And I also think that there's karma that happens that we never get to actually witness. There's plenty of people that face karma, but they're not going to post about it publicly. We're never going to really know. I think sometimes spirit likes to be petty and like let you see all of it, but sometimes things happen that are totally out of our vision but are still going on. So this may be something you get lucky enough to actually witness, but again, don't forget and think, well, they're just thriving. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it didn't happen. Because again, even with the Taylor and Kanye thing, that happened, I think the recording happened in 2016. Then that week that she was at all the top 10 #1 breaking records, and he lost $1 billion and then had his bank account taken away. And of course, I know there's multiple factors with that. I'm just saying, like, to distill a really short story into like a kind of quick spiritual lesson. Like that's what because again, I'm not saying there weren't other factors involved with why that happened to him. But I'm saying the pettiness of having it happen that same week, you know what I mean? Like her best week and his worst. I just don't think it's a coincidence. I think spirit tracks all of it. And when someone's like stomped you in the mud publicly, spirit's like, okay, let's reverse this, play it back and reverse it. Let's try some, shoe on the other foot. Let's play this back. And I think that that's kind of what happened there with the very on timing. I think that was crazy. And I also think it was crazy, my little party situation. Even though that's a small thing, to me it's a big thing. I was like, dang, like me in middle school, I would have been so thrilled if you could have told me back then that would have happened. I mean, I couldn't have scripted it. And the funniest part is, again, I didn't recognize her, so I kept smiling over and trying to like be like, hi, why is this crazy person staring at me? I really didn't know what was going on, and I'm just like a optimistic Pisces, so I was just like, well, I don't know why she's looking over here. Anyway, I'll just be nice. And like could not have been less bothered, you know what I mean? Could not have been more unfazed, which I could only imagine is even more irritating if you're in her situation and you're like hating on this person. Like, again, spirit's so petty, it's just crazy. So you guys may have a situation like that you're kind of stressing about. Don't worry about it because God keeps track of all of it. Let's get like one more card at least for pile number 4. Unexpected changes coming their way. Let's see, the Hanged Man. Wow, we got a lot. Oh my God, all major arcana. That's crazy. So yeah, this, the Hanged Man can be a very heavy card, and sometimes it can feel like you took a loss, like you took an L, and like things are really not working out for you. It can feel sometimes like, nothing's working out, or like you're kind of a fish out of water and you're just looking at the world through, suddenly the world is like a darker place, or it's not what you expected, or it's just kind of a lot of losses happening for you. And again, I think sometimes the thing is like, it's a paradigm shift for your benefit, not to obsess. I know, I'm like, you guys are always like, oh, you talk about her so much. I don't mean to. I just think she has interesting karmic spiritual lessons for the collective. But back to Taylor Swift, then when that event happened, like, I feel like people were like, oh my God, her career is over. And I truly believe that was the best thing that happened for her career. Like, she needed to let go of her reputation before, because it was like too perfect. I mean, it was making people mad. People were getting really jealous. And also, like, I think they didn't like the goody kind of vibe, even though, that was like good for her. People were getting really mad about it and they were hating on it. So in a weird way, it's like, I think the public feels the need to like crucify different people. And sometimes it's like, that moment that you think is like actually bringing you down in the end is just your cycle into like a new iteration, so it's kind of like Jesus, and this is ruled by Neptune, which is the sign of Pisces, which is the fish, aka Jesus. Jesus couldn't be iconic if he wasn't crucified, and that's literally how he became the leader of the biggest religion in the whole world, right? And so by the same token, again, it reminds me of like Taylor Swift now has broken all these stadium records. She's like the biggest musical artist in the whole world. And it's been crazy to see the summer she's had. And it was after, I think she said she thought her career was never going to recover. She thought, it was a trending topic like Taylor Swift is over. And I don't think she could have gotten to this place in her career if she had continued on the same trajectory she was in before that. I think it was like, again, people thought she was too perfect. People thought, she was like Miss Goody Goody. And in a weird way, as horrible as it seemed, it was actually, and even though there were no good intentions behind it, it was actually a blessing and an ushering into the new cycle for her to go through a like dark era, for her to be like writing some of the dark, bitter songs and like Reputation that are some of the fan favorites, or for her to be like loved up in this relationship and kind of hiding away with her boyfriend because she felt so hated by people, that also inspired major music, And my favorite albums are the ones that she wrote in like that little cabin or wherever they were during quarantine, Evermore and Folklore. Those were like hugely popular and reinvented her reputation in many ways. So my point is sometimes we can't really like predict why an event is happening, but with the Hanged Man, it's that call to like just go along with it. It's the call to accept that now we're in a new era. Now something new is happening. And the past, we can't live in it forever. We can't go back to how things used to be. So we might as well just embrace and take this new perspective and be like, okay, so this is what's happening. It's really easy to get hung up on like, I can't believe this happened, or this was so unfair, or they said that was going to happen, or they did this, or it should have been like that, or I had this plan. It's really, I think, human nature to just be like very fixated on all the things we thought were supposed to work out, when the reality is maybe this pivot was exactly what you needed to happen to take you to an even bigger destiny. Maybe being screwed, stabbed in the back, hurt, as much as it stinks, was literally exactly that thrust of destiny to shove you into some new, better reality. It may not be their intention. It may not be why they did it. They might not have done that, probably did not, with that purpose, but that's what happened. And so sometimes, like I said, the worst thing we can do is to stay in the past wishing things would change. And I mentioned this in another reading, but the Hanged Man is ruled by Neptune, aka Pisces. And that's why Pisces is the fish. I think, Pisces has this optimism. They're both ruled by Jupiter in ancient astrology, and both Pisces and Sag are united by their optimism. Sag in a fire sign way, where they're just like, I want to embark and go places, and it's all going to work out, and let me pack my bags, and I don't even care. I don't know where I'm staying tonight, but I booked my flight and I can't wait to see it. No, I don't speak the language, but it's going to be awesome. And that's kind of fire sign optimism. But Pisces is water, and water optimism is less intense. It's maybe less obvious, but it's kind of like, yeah, it worked out. Yeah, I really had to cry, but now I feel a lot better, and it's going to be okay. It all happened for a reason. And it's also like an optimistic, trusting, kind of energy. I think that's why people say Pisces are, one, delusional, and two, that we also are very unprepared for things. Like, we'll just be like, oh, I forgot to pay my taxes, or oh, I forgot to I don't know where my car keys are. Oh my God, I lost my car keys. And someone else would be flipping out, but we're like, yeah, it's kind of a problem, but I should probably fix it. But oh well. But I think that the thing about it is, the reason why the Hanged Man is ruled by Neptune is because there is a virtue in just accepting that sometimes things fall apart. Sometimes things don't work out. And sometimes that's actually your portal to this new plane. It's like a fish doesn't try to fight against the current, or doesn't try to, go into a toxic part of water. They're just going to swim over to the new, better water. They're not going to stick around in the sewage water. They're gonna just swim on over to some crystal waters and be like, yeah, this is better. Okay, cool. They don't stick and sit and stay. They kind of move on and just swim to wherever they want to go. And I think in general, people tend to get so attached to outcomes. I also mentioned this in another reading, but this is coming through again for you guys, is that maybe I think Pisces also opposes Virgo on the astrological wheel. And I think Virgo likes to have everything kind of set in, set in order. Like they like to have a plan. They like to have a list. They like to know what's going to happen. They like to have some kind of like itinerary and data and all this information. It's ruled by Mercury. And Gemini as well opposes Sag. So there's this common thread of like Jupiter energies being opposed by Mercury energy. Because Jupiter energy is all about trusting the infinite abundance of the universe. And Sag and Pisces are some of the luckiest signs because of that. They're the signs that things just kind of magically seem to work out for. And like, well, they didn't have a plan, but everything's fine. I think Rihanna's another example of a Pisces that doesn't seem like she stresses a lot. Like of all the singers and stuff, like the famous singers, Rihanna seems the most likely to just go on stage and be like, yeah, I don't have a ton of backup dancers, and I didn't perfectly rehearse, and I didn't plan everything out to the nines. Like Rihanna seems like she would just be like, yep, I'm going on stage, whatever, and I'll just kind of wing it. Even her fashion shows that off. Like she doesn't seem like someone who overthinks her fashion. She just wears whatever she wants, and yet she's this fashion icon. You know what I mean? And there's something to be said for just, I mean, she's like the fashion icon. You can't name anyone else who comes close to her fashion. And now that I think about it, Taylor Swift is also a Sag. So I don't know, some Pisces Sag Jupiter lessons you guys are supposed to get from this reading. But the thing about that is I think, kind of just riding with the tides. And that's what Taylor did in that moment, right? She's a Sag, she's the archer. So it's kind of like on to the next. Okay, on to the next, on to the next. And I think that's how you kind of survive a really difficult situation. You don't try to figure it out in the moment. You don't try to get the lesson and get the information and get the data. Hopefully, you'll get the data later. But sometimes when you're going through those horrible little tides, the rip currents, that's how they say to get out of a rip current. Let it flow you out and then you can swim back in. But you got to go through it. You can't fight against the rapids. You got to just let them take you and just kind of pray and try to swim, and then hopefully things will be fine, But to a certain extent, I think so much of the time when things are going crazy in people's life, they just want to like control it. They want to get ahead of it. They want to know what's going on. They want to understand what's happening. They want to see the justice right now. They want to know that this person is going to suffer. Trust me, they will. If someone's done badly to you, they will get karma. But part of the process is just giving into the process, accepting that things change, accepting that things aren't going to look the same, and then leaning into that new reality as quickly as possible. Being willing to embrace like, yeah, I thought that was going to work out, but it didn't. So now here I am, yeah, I mean, to me, when I think of like Rihanna, the Pisces energy she has, it seems very like tossed off. Like even the clothes she wears, she does not seem like someone who like sits down with a consultant and has an image brand consultant person being like, well, this was the wardrobe for this, and this is like this designer, and you should partner with them because they're also leading a charity initiative, and that's really good PR for you. She just seems like she'd be like, yeah, that's cool, I want to wear that. And if they were like, oh, but that's an upcoming designer and they're not famous, she'd be like, okay, I'm wearing that. That's what I want to wear. And she doesn't even seem like someone who would plan her outfits a lot of times. She seems like she just has that mind to just come in and just pick everything spur of the moment. There's like a spontaneity to her. You know what I mean? And I think honestly, there's something that's so powerful about that when it comes to navigating the tides of life. And like I said, Taylor Swift, a huge artist as well that I've been mentioning, is also Sag ruled, and she seems to have that roll with the punches Jupiter energy as well. So there's something to be said for not staying stuck in the past, for not staying stuck on it had to look like that or it was supposed to, and instead welcoming in this new reality, welcoming in this new destiny, and accepting that if that didn't work out, it wasn't supposed to work out. And as much as we can get down in the weeds of like, but that was so unfair, and that person treated me bad, and they need some payback, and this was not okay, and it's like, yeah, and it wasn't okay. And that's Spirit's job, to take care of all of that, and Spirit will take out the trash one by one. And sometimes it takes a little time, and like I said, sometimes Spirit likes to be petty and time it for the same week or at the same party years later. But that's why Spirit is so brilliant and omniscient and manages to make this magic happen. It's our job to trust in the magic and to know that it's going to be taken care of. So you guys might see some kind of positive thing about the court case or about this karma or about whatever negative situation you're in. You might not see positivity right now. This might be a season of you having to kind of push through. But either way, When you're acting out of your truest self, when you're acting from a place of genuine positivity, it will work out for you. When you trust in this energy of the universe and you know that the universe is guiding you to some ultimate beautiful direction. And this is what Sag and Pisces both know, because they're both ruled by Jupiter, which is a planet of spiritual wisdom at its core, and spirituality at its core. Then we can know that everything is going to come up roses. Everything is going to be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. And if it happened that way, it was supposed to happen that way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know who needed to hear this, but I honestly think that as much as your life may change in positive or negative directions, the message is to kind of just keep going and to trust that whatever happens in your immediate future is kind of irrelevant to the long-term positive effects and the beautiful plan Spirit has for you, and knowing that anything that seems like a repositioning or it didn't work out like I wanted is sometimes the biggest blessing of all. So yeah, I think that's what I have for you guys. Pile 4, if you want to see more of my content, then you can check it out here on this channel or on my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about what you're destined to have in this lifetime. And before that, all about an early relationship, early love, early dating reading. So that's a really fun one. But as soon as you sign up, you get access to over 65 additional readings. So I would love to see you over there. The link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And by the way, if you guys want to let me know how this reading resonated for you, I always love hearing. So let me know your thoughts, you guys. And if you want to get a private one-on-one reading with me, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can sign up for a half-hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, or channel for you, and you get to ask me whatever you want within reason. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. By the way, the link for that is in my description for briarrosetarot.com. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back again very soon for another reading. I'm sending you guys so much love, and I'll see you in a little while. Take care. Bye.